It's a big India Today exclusive going straight across to my senior colleague Rajdeep Sardesai, who is being joined by Sunil Gavaskar. Over to you, Rajdeep.
And joining us now as that third fascinating India-Australia test match in Sydney has ended in a draw is legendary Indian captain and batsman Sunil Gavaskar. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Gavaskar. Wow, what a test match. India fighting back to stay alive and drawing the match, losing just 3 wickets on the final day. How do you rate this Indian performance, particularly on the final day?
It's an absolutely fantastic performance. It's a performance which showed your grit, your character, your resilience, your resistance, your determination. And it is something that all Indian cricketers, all Indian cricket supporters and all Indian cricket lovers should be extremely proud of. I'm very, very proud of this team for what they've done today, because they've stayed alive in the series. They've given themselves a chance of winning the series at Gabba. Looking at the kind of new ball attack that we have and the way we have played today, it certainly gives you the hope that Gabba, which is supposed to be Australia's fortress, can be breached by this Indian team.
I'll come to what could happen in that final test, Mr. Gavaskar, in a moment, but I want to ask you an honest answer. This morning when India lost Ajinkya Rahane in the second over, we were 3 down and we had to bat out more than 100 overs. Did you really give our team a chance at that stage against this formidable Australian attack on a last day pitch?
No, not really. I'll be honest with it, not really, because we didn't know what the extent of Ajinkya Rahane's Rishabh Pant's injury was. We weren't very sure of whether Ravi Jadeja would come into bat. So with 2 batsmen a little bit uncertain, I wasn't very certain that they'd be able to survive even up to tea. That was what my thinking was. But then Rishabh Pant came in and he took his time, 35 deliveries to score his first 5 runs. Then he sussed up the wicket and then he went down the pitch to try and hit to Nathan Lyon, hit those big sixes, throw him off his line and length. That was wonderful cricketing thinking. And then Cheteshwar Pujara, the wall. And when we talk about the wall, today is, of course, the original wall, Rahul Dravid's birthday. And how happy he would be that his birthday is celebrated with one of the most famous fightbacks in Indian cricket history.
With the change in field, that is a quite brilliant shot, and it is quite brilliant.
You know, both you and Rahul Dravid, in a sense, represent the old style way of batting in Test cricket, batting for time, and we've seen that today. So, great birthday present for Rahul Dravid. But Rishabh Pant, I mean, a remarkable cricketer for someone so young, seems to be completely fearless.
Well, that's the youth that you have today. The youth are fearless. They are not worried about tomorrow. They know that they can do it. They're very confident of their own abilities. And that's what was seen. But what impressed me more than the shots that he played later on was the way he played himself in for 35 deliveries and saw what the pitch was doing. He also allowed that injury to get a little bit better, because the injury gets warmed up when the adrenaline is flowing. Then you don't think about injuries, you don't think about soreness, but he allowed that also to warm up. And once he was a little bit more confident about the fact that that injury is not going to hamper him from playing the big shots, he went out and played the big shots and almost put India in a position where we could win. And if that injury had not happened to Hanuma Vihari, who knows, India would have pressed on for a win as well.
Well, it seems like...
You actually think India could have won that test match had, say, Pant batted for half an hour more, or, as you said, Hanuma Vihari had not pulled a hamstring, that we actually could have chased down 406?
We could have definitely chased down, because look, at the end of the day, the last session, the post-tea session, when clearly Hanuma Vihari and Ravi Ashwin were looking to save the game, there were so many scoring opportunities, so many runs that could have been taken. So the fact that India didn't take those runs, if there was no injury, then India would have looked for those runs and India could have definitely come close. And also don't forget that there was that mandatory 15 overs after 83 overs had been bowled. And at that particular point of time, if India had got to something like maybe 350 or 325, then to score 80 runs in 15 overs, they certainly would have given it a go. Because, yes, Jadeja was around. It was good to see him padded up. In the morning when he was not padded up, I was saying on commentary that he should not give that signal to the Australians that they've already captured 1 wicket, that he should change into whites. So maybe he can come and bat at 10 or even at number 11, but change into whites. And when he did change into whites, the whole picture seemed to have changed.
You know, let's just put whatever's happened today in context. Just 2 test matches ago, we get bowled out for 36. Then we go and win in Melbourne. And now we have this terrific fight back on the last day in Sydney. You know, put it in some kind of context. You know, what does this show about this present Indian team that we are able to look, it appears, the Australians in the eye and win and then draw?
Well, first and foremost, I think you've got to understand that what the IPL has done is that it has allowed the young Indian players to rub shoulders with some of the finest players in international cricket, not just the Indian players, but even those from overseas. So the awe factor is gone. They're not awestruck when they see an overseas player, however great he may be. They've rubbed shoulders with him. They've seen his weaknesses, his vulnerabilities, his feeling of tension, and they know that it is the same. That he's also, whoever that overseas cricketer, he's got 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and that they are as good as anybody else. And that belief in the younger Indian players is what is showing in the way they approach the game. Look at Rishabh Pant's approach. I mean, there will be players, there will be people who will say, look, he should have not gone for a personal landmark. But that was the way he was playing. That was the way he was going for the hundreds. And he's not the kind of cricketer who would have looked to get to that 100 with 1s and 2s. He's the kind of cricketer who would have liked to have got to that with a big 6 or a boundary. So you can't fault him for that. That's the theme which the IPL, the mixing of cultures and attitude and approaches, has done for Indian cricket.
You know, you spoke about self-belief, but it takes a lot of character and, courage, because Ashwin, for example, took a lot of blows on the body. Hanuma Vihari has a hamstring, and yet they bat hour on hour into the last session. I mean, as someone who was a master of batting time, give us a sense of what it takes to bat 131 overs on the last day.
Well, let me tell you one thing. When you put on that India cap, there is that unbelievable feeling of pride. There is that feeling that you are the lucky, fortunate one to be playing for India amongst the millions who play this game. And to be able to try and put a smile on their faces is one of the biggest incentives that you can have. And that is the thought that would have been at the back of Ashwin's mind and Vihari's mind. And that is the reason why Ashwin would take all those blows on his body, because he knows that playing for India is a privilege. It's not a right, it's a privilege. And therefore, to be able to make that privilege, he has to do something special. Look, he's a very, very good cricketer. He's a very intelligent cricketer. Sometimes he overthinks his batting, is what I feel, and tries to play, out of the box. Today, he did nothing of that sort. Today, he played well within himself and ensured that India saved the game, stayed alive in the series, and give themselves a chance of breaching the Australian fortress at Brisbane.
Do you get a sense that the Australians have underestimated this Indian resilience? After we were bowled out for 36, they thought it was a walkover. We were hearing from Australian commentators that it was going to be 4-0. Have the Australians been taken by surprise by the sheer gumption and guts that the Indian batsmen and bowlers have shown?
Absolutely. I mean, not just the Australians. There were a lot of other people from other parts of the cricketing world who were talking nonsense about this Indian team, because it's always a very good thing to try and bash up Indian cricketers and Indian teams, because that gets them more of whatever this social platform is. They get them more followers on the social platform or whatever it is. But this, the Indian teams of the past as well have always had that gumption. Look, like I told you, when you pull on that India cap, that feeling of pride is incredible. You want to do something special for your country. You might not have the talent, the natural talent, but what that cap brings is that determination, that character, that grit, that I want to justify my place in the team by trying to do something beyond what I'm capable of. And so that is what this Indian team did after being knocked out for 36. They came back well. Having said that, you've got to give credit to our bowlers because and again, you've got to question Tim Paine's captaincy because if a team has been bowled out for 36, you win the toss as an Australian captain. If I was the Australian captain, with the kind of fragile mind that I would be in, like an Indian, I would put the Indians into bat, having been knocked over for 36. Instead, he opted to bat, and our bowlers made sure that they didn't score too many runs. They were dismissed for under 200. So that is where the Indians started to believe that, look, yes, we had one bad hour in Adelaide, but we can get back and we can fight and we can win this game.
That's what sport is all about. That is exactly what you're getting to see.
How much of credit do you want to give the Indian captain Ajinkya Rahane, stand-in for Virat Kohli, and the coach Ravi Shastri, who in the past has often been targeted by the same social media that you speak of? I mean, Shastri has, when he was a cricketer, was known to be extremely resilient, and Ajinkya Rahane may be soft-spoken, but he too seems to be looking the Australians in the eye.
Well, they deserve all the credit that they're getting because, look, after being knocked out for 36, it's very, very difficult for any team to pick themselves up. But the way they picked themselves up is a lot of credit to Ravi Shastri, to Ajinkya Rahane, because they would have had a few meetings to be able to talk as to what they did right and what they did wrong, where they can get better. And then not only you can do, you can talk the talk, but you've got to walk the walk. And that's what the Indian team did in Melbourne. And yes, I think no credit can be, too high for both these guys, as well as the other support staff. Don't underestimate the contribution of Bharat Arun as a bowling coach who ensured that the bowlers were able to bowl. Don't underestimate the contribution of the other support staff as well. So yes, I think all in all, it was a team performance, but clearly the captain and the coach deserve more of the credit.
You mentioned Tim Paine, the Australian captain, and how he got the toss wrong in Melbourne. He dropped a few catches today, but we also caught him on camera continuously sledging, or dare I say, the Australians will say it's banter, while the Indian team was batting. Did you get a sense that this Indian team is now getting under the skin of the Australians? And how do you see the Australian behavior?
Well, first and foremost, it was unbefitting of a captain of a national team to be talking something other than cricket. By all means, you want to have a go at the opposition. You talk about their cricket. You can say to the batsman, he doesn't know how to play. You can say to the batsman, he's no good. All those kinds of things are completely acceptable because you're talking cricket. But when you talk about something else, it shows your frustration. It shows that, you are not able to bear the fact that the opposition is putting up a fight. And at the end of the day, the Indians had the last laugh. Ravichandran Ashwin had the last laugh. And for whatever Tim Paine was saying, clearly, I think I don't know. I'm not an Australian selector. But his days as captain are numbered because, look, if you allow the Indian last 5 batsmen to bat 30 odd overs without getting a wicket, and this is a very good Australian attack, and the bowling changes, the field placing, everything could have made a whole difference to the result of this game. But Tim Paine was more interested in talking to the batsman rather than looking at his field placing and bowling changes. So I won't be surprised if there is a change in the Australian captaincy after the series is over.
You're making a big call. You're saying Tim Paine should perhaps be removed as Australian captain, not good enough perhaps as a captain,
that's my view.
Perhaps not good enough to be in the side. Yeah.
That's my view. If you drop catches, simple catches, Rishabh, the 2 edges were simple catches to a wicketkeeper. They were not difficult catches. The last one, which he missed off Vihari, was also one which he should have left. Would have gone straight to Steve Smith, but because he might have been just a little bit disturbed, or his concentration may not have been there after that little episode with Ravichandran Ashwin, made him go for what would have been a brilliant catch. But see, this game. And I had the former Australian captain sitting next to me doing commentary, and he said this game has a wonderful way of coming back and biting you on the backside. So your best bet is to concentrate on the game, focus on the game, and not look at trying to upset the opposition with kind of nonsense which has no place in the game of cricket.
They're yet to get there, though. It's still Australia, big chance here still.
You know, you mentioned nonsense which has no place on the field. We've also seen it off the field in terms of crowd behavior, you know, the kind of taunts which the Indian players have to face, some of them with a clear edge of racism. Is this something that has surprised you, or is this something that Indian players have to be used to when they go to Australia? Is this something that has always happened, or is this something new that that the players are facing? And to that extent, how do you respond?
Well, I have to say that for the first 2 or 3 tours that I had in Australia, none of these things happened. You actually look forward to playing in Australia because the Australian crowd had a great sense of humor. Whatever they would say would be very funny. And even if it was directed at you, there was always, there was a fun element about it. So you didn't actually feel offended because it wasn't really very personal. But when you have a situation like what happened to young Siraj, then that's worrying. Whether it is racist or just plain abuse, that has no place at all in sport, not just in cricket. That has no place in sport. You pay good money to come and watch players, and then you abuse those same players. That doesn't make any sense. That just tells you that the drink has got the better of you, and it invariably happens when people are drinking. Having said that, I think all cricketing organizations should come down heavily on it and have a situation where you remove, like in Sydney, those guys were removed straight away. That is the kind of action that should be taken, and those guys should be identified so that they are suspended from watching cricket or any sport for a period of time. Some sort of punishment has to be given to them. But that's one way to ensure that the players will not be abused.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to understand what has changed. Is it again the fact that the Indian players have got under the skin of both the Australian players and the crowds just by the sheer dint of performance? Or is it that there is just a small section of Australians who get drunk at cricket matches and then think that all is fair and you can say what you want and abuse players? Is this a very small section, you think, of the Australian populace, that the majority of Australian cricket lovers are actually now admiring of this Indian cricket team, which is why they want the Indian cricket team to visit Australia ever so often?
Yes, I think that the latter part is more correct. I think it's just basically a small section which, after having a few drinks, gets a bit carried away, thinks they're funny. But that happens everywhere. I think when somebody is trying to impress somebody, and then they try to go a little bit over the top, and that's what seems to happen. You're absolutely right. The majority of the Australian cricket lovers want to see good cricket, and they want to see a fight. Sure, they want to see their team win, which a fan does not want his country's team to win. An Indian fan will want his Indian team to win. So there's nothing wrong with that. But they are admiring, what is happening, because this has been absolutely a riveting test series. The first 2 test matches where there have been results, this one could have had a result, but it was one of the most famous draws in the history of the game and history of Indian cricket. So, yes, it's a small section, but again, that small section has to be told that they can't get away with it.
So let me ask you in conclusion, who's going to win the Border Gavaskar Trophy? 1-1. Remember, we have the trophy is still with us because we won the last series, so we just need a draw. What do you see going ahead into Brisbane? Do you see India now with the momentum, with the psychological advantage after this terrific fight back?
Well, I predicted before the series started here on Australian television that India is going to win 2-1. At the moment, the series is 1-1. And yes, I know that the Gabba at Brisbane is Australia's fortress. But India, in Bumrah and in Ravichandran Saini and Mohammad Siraj, have the ability to take on the Australians. Bumrah had terrible luck in the Sydney game. A lot of chances went a begging. He bowled brilliantly without getting wickets. Who knows? All those wickets are reserved for him at the Gabba.
So you think Bumrah could be the big difference on a quick wicket at the Gabba, that we can actually match the Australians pace for pace?
Absolutely. Apart from pace for pace, if you have a look at the Australian opening, they have struggled to get off to a start. While India got off to very good starts in both the innings at Sydney, they have struggled to get off to a start. And apart from Smith and Labuschagne, who scored runs in both innings of the Sydney game, the other batsmen haven't really got too many runs. Yes, Cameron Green got runs towards the end, and Tim Paine also started to hit when the Indians were not looking to take wickets, but to trying to delay the declaration. So the Australian batting is vulnerable. So anything can happen. Yes, that is their fortress. They have hardly lost there since 1988 or something when the West Indies beat them. But there's always a first time, and if Ajinkya Rahane and company do it, I won't be surprised at all.
The situation they were in to come out.
And if they do it, it could rank as one of the greatest ever Indian overseas wins all time as a series win.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it will probably be the best win because this is a very good Australian attack. So to counter that Australian attack has not been easy for the batsmen. And like with Smith and Labuschagne, they've got two quality players. Warner coming for this test didn't quite get the runs. He may not play the next test because he didn't look 100% in this game. So yes, winning this series will be a tremendous achievement and will rank as one of the best overseas wins that India has ever had.
That's what sport is all about.
You want to see any changes? We've seen Shubman Gill come in and do remarkably well, but Hanuma, Vihari injured, Ravindra Jadeja injured. Should we still go into this test match with 5 bowlers attack or play for a draw with maybe playing the extra batsman?
I think maybe India will probably go in with 4 bowlers because they might not be too sure that the Brisbane pitch will help, say, somebody like Kuldeep Yadav with his wrist spin may not help him. So they might decide to go in with Riddhiman Saha as a wicketkeeper and Rishabh Pant as a batsman. And in place of Vihari, who's unfortunately injured, they might look to bring in either Mayank Agarwal or they might look to bring in Prithvi Shaw. More likely that they'll probably bring in Mayank Agarwal. Then the question of who opens the batting will be there. But I do believe that there will be a few changes for sure in this Indian team. A couple of changes definitely with the injuries that India has had.
But either way, you know, these 3 tests have been fascinating, and it just shows, as you rightly said, the evolution of Indian cricket. I must remind you, Mr. Gavaskar, it is 50 years this year since you made your remarkable debut, and you know, you in a way set the tone for Indian players to play fast bowling, and I think that torch has been carried forward by today's batsmen. So a great day for you, for Rahul Dravid, whose birthday it is. The torch is being carried forward, Mr. Gavaskar, as it should. The privilege of playing for India.
Well, I'm very proud of this team. Very, very proud of the way they have come back after the 36 all-out. Very, very proud of the way they have, shown this grit and determination in saving this game. I think the application, everything that has been seen of this Indian team has been absolutely something to make every Indian cricket lover happy and proud.
Mr. Gavaskar, as always, pleasure talking to you. I'm going to take a few questions with you in Marathi in a moment for our Mumbai Aaj Tak, but it's been delightful listening to you on this memorable day. It's been a memorable draw. You don't say that too often, but genuinely, this draw feels like a victory in every sense of the term. Thank you so much for joining us there, and may your prediction of India winning 2-1 come true at the end.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.